Hey everybody, welcome back to Scott's Quick Cash Class, and we got another good episode for you. We are talking about side hustles. Are they worth it? Do they make you money? Can you get out of your day job from them? So we're going to kind of deep dive into that in the next 5-7 minutes and kind of talk about some of the pros, some of the cons, and some of the things that I've done. And hopefully, you'll hear something that will help you out. Leave a comment always. Remember, I'm never going to ask you to buy anything, never going to ask you to sell anything, just here to help. So make sure you leave comments. So, getting into side hustles, right? I've had side hustles. When I was a kid, they didn't call them side hustles, or even when I was younger, they didn't call it a side hustle. They just called it working your tail off, right? He's a hustler, or that kid works really hard, or he's always got something going on. And when I was younger, it seemed like a lot of people did have side hustles. But then as I've, gotten to adulthood and, had a family, in the last 10, 15 years, a lot of, we got social media influencers out there, people on TV, everybody talking about how bad the economy is or how expensive things are. And, you need to get a side hustle. Those were none of the things I was thinking about whenever I started, quote unquote, side hustling. From when I first started in the work field, I've always wanted to do something else. I knew a job, and I've had jobs that I've liked, but I just known that I wasn't always going to be a full-time at a job, right? Like I knew that wasn't the ends to the means. I knew there had to be something better out there, and not that I necessarily wanted to be my own boss, but I wanted to be able to control my financial future. Probably like a lot of you guys out there, I've been fired from a few jobs. I would say some of the reasons were my fault for sure. But then, a couple of times it was, quote unquote, the economy, business slowing down. And those are tough pills to swallow, especially if, you have a good paying job or you're at a place you really like, and that was hard for me. But I always knew, like, I needed a job. For me was a platform to something better. Whether it was I was developing skills or I was taking the resources, whether it be money or whatnot, and investing it into myself and into something else. And so, I've cut grass when I was younger, landscaping. I did get back into that, in my later 20s as well. I sold insurance as a side hustle. Sold advertising as a side hustle. So I've done some other things. It wasn't until I got into real estate as a side hustle that it turned into more than a side hustle and a path out. And I'm not here to talk to you about real estate. I'm just here to talk to you about, is that side hustle a good thing or a bad thing, right? So let's get into a few statistics here. 34% of side hustles report losing money after expenses. And this is something that, is challenging, right? Because if, you're like, hey, I need some extra cash, you go out and you do some jobs, you get extra cash, but there's expenses, and maybe you put it on your credit card and you don't think about it until that credit card bill comes. You're like, oh, I got to pay that. But the side hustle money's already gone, and you didn't pay the bill that you were supposed to. And that's happened to all of us, right? And the whole point of this is, like, 1/3 of the side hustles out there are costing the people money. Not only their time, which is your greatest asset, it's also costing them money. Like, they're spending all this time to do something, they're still losing money, right? So that's frustrating. Burnout affects 6 out of 10 gig workers. And this is from Harvard 2024. So, and that's Uber drivers or, freelance, DoorDash, all those things, any type of gig worker. Yes, it's neat, you get to set your own hours, but the problem sometimes with that is whenever, orders start going lower. And my wife, she did a lot of door dashing, during Rona and stuff, because she was cooped up in the house, and she's like, I want to go out and do something. And this was, driving was a very convenient, reliable thing because so many people wanted it, and she was making good money. But then after a while, the market got saturated with drivers. There wasn't as many people ordering, so there was less demand. So, after a while, when I started doing the math on this, I go, you're making like $6 an hour, right? Like you could go get a job anywhere else and it would be better. And so we weren't necessarily losing money, but that just wasn't the best use of our time. Plus, you can get burnout from doing that, right? The crazy hours, late, early, you make your own schedule, but then sometimes you got to do whatever schedule it is just to make ends meet. So that's not really an effective side hustle. And then most side hustlers underestimate their tax burden. And I'm not a tax expert by any means. I've paid my fair share of taxes and read my fair share of tax books. However, most people, and I've even done this, underestimate how much you owe the federal government. They will come and they will take, and this isn't, I'm not getting on a soapbox about, paying taxes, but you definitely want to protect how much money you make. So, making sure you have a good accountant that can help you with that, but also making sure that you're planning ahead. It said by 30 or 40%. I mean, you can basically figure if you're self-employed, for every dollar that comes in, probably 40% of that's going to be going back out in some form of tax that you'll have to pay, or expenses, right? So you want to plan accordingly. Now, here's 3 things that you can do, and ask yourself if you have a side hustle, great. You're already ahead of the game, right? You've already go, hey, listen, I want to make some extra money. Let's do that. So kudos to you. But track all your side hustle expenses for 30 days. And I mean everything. If you were out doing a job and you bought a candy bar that you otherwise wouldn't have because you wouldn't have been at that gas station or whatever, keep track of it, right? Because that is an expense. But track all of it, your fuel, your time, taxes, how much sleep did you lose or other time, because that's a lot of people don't factor in their time, and your time is your most precious resource. I can't repeat this. I can't say it enough, right? Take ownership of your time, because your time is worth more than whatever you're getting paid, because you never get more of it. So you want to take a look at that. Number 2, rate each side hustle on 1 to 10 from a 1 to 10 scale based on ROI, money ROI, and stress. And ROI means return on investment, right? So if you had to put $1,000 into it, but it's only generated you $200 over the course of the year, that's only a 20% ROI, right? Also, the stress level that it brings to you, right? Like if this side hustle brings you more stress than your regular job, you probably want to look at a different side hustle. All right, and then one last one, and this is my favorite. This is what I like. It says, build a sleep income stream this year. And that could be through a digital product, that could be through, YouTube, that could be through, Facebook, or something on social media, selling something, automation, real estate. All those are passive income streams. And that's really in my humble opinion, that's really the key to getting out of the quote unquote rat race, right? Is you go to work, you have a job, you work. If you get an additional income stream in there, or 2 or 3, like most millionaires and wealthy people do, if you get another 1 or 2 in there, you can then start using that money to invest, pay off debt, and that jumpstarts you where just trying to find a job that pays a little bit more, or hoping you get that extra dollar raise at work or a couple grand, that's not going to jumpstart you, right? So hopefully you'll take some of those things that I talked about. They're very easy to apply. Hopefully you'll go ahead and do one of those. We're on to question of the day, tip of the day. Question of the day: is your side hustle building wealth or just delaying burnout? We kind of talked about that a little bit, right? Is that side hustle moving you towards your end goal, which, everyone's end goal is different. Mine was to be financially free by 50. Was all my side hustles helping me get to that goal? And the answer to that is yes. Not 50 yet, by the way. And then tip of the day: if the hustle doesn't buy freedom, it's just another job. And that is so true, right? If you're going there and it's not making your life where you have more freedom, more choices, more control of your time, because that's really, it's not about money, it's about time, controlling your time. If it doesn't do that, then it's just another job. Thanks again for watching. Appreciate all the comments, all the likes, all the views. Every day, bringing you 5 to 7 minute episodes. Till next time.